Alright guys, today we're going to be looking at great circle routes on the flat earth. This is the flat earth map that I use. The traditional flat earth map doesn't work. And the reason why it doesn't work, there are a lot of reasons. But primarily, the simplest observation that we can make to prove that this map doesn't work is the setting sun at equinox. So we know that when equinox is happening, that the sun is traveling on the equator. It's rising directly east of my location and it's setting directly west of my location. But if I'm standing here and I'm looking at the setting sun based on the compass, I'm not looking directly west, I'm looking in a northwest direction, right? The sun would be setting northwest of me, not west of me. What is west based on the latitude lines if I'm standing here? West would be in this direction, right? So the sun would be over here, but I would see the sun set way over here from my perspective. That is not what we see. And that is the simplest way to debunk this map. This map has led so many people astray in this debate, and it has made people look like they don't know what they're talking about. And somebody who thinks about this in a very simplistic way, if you're not, ignoring this, if you keep saying this is the map, it's not doing this argument a service at all. As a matter of fact, it's a very big disservice to the argument that I believe is the truth. I believe that the Bible is true because God's ways are higher, right? So if we apply the biblical model to the map, right, and we say, okay, well, the earth resets in every direction because there's an angel blocking our way, right? If I'm traveling south from the North Pole in this direction, and I end up coming out here, traveling in this direction, then I'm going to end up at the South Pole, right? Very easy. And where it resets depends on how close to the center you are. If you're directly on the center line, you're going to end up going across. Like on the equator, if I'm directly on the center line and I enter here, I'm going to come out all the way on the other side. But the closer you get to the center, the closer you're going to come out the other side. So it's kind of a difficult, weird problem to think about when you're looking at it, but it's housed inside of 6 dimensions. And the reason why I'm making this video is to show you how the shape of the lines that are on the ground determine the assumed shape of the earth. And what you'll notice about this map, because they assume that the earth is a globe, they tried to add the convexity of Australia to make it match the latitude and longitude. And when you assume convexity and you try to do this, you're going to have to stretch it out, right? It's like this. It's like a great circle. If I don't assume convexity, right, then this would be the shortest path from here to there. This definitely would not be the shortest path, right? But if we take the path and we look at it and we overlay it on a map like this, this is not the shortest point between this point and this point. This isn't. This is, right? This is the shortest point between this point and this point. So the only model that works is the biblical model, the way it's described in the Bible. I want to show you how and why. And what you'll notice is if we're traveling from New York, let me line that up a little bit better. If we're traveling from New York to Madrid, Spain, which is right here in the center, we're going to start off in a northerly direction. We're going to pass Boston right here, and we're going to continue traveling north, right? Look at the latitude line. Look at how far the latitude line is from our starting point. Look how close it is when we're at our midpoint. Look how much further it is when we get into Madrid. Look how far, again, that latitude line is to where we are. But this is a straight line. And when you're looking at it against this line actually kind of looks curved if you look at it right? This looks like a curved line because you're putting it up against a line that is curved on a flat surface that is on flat ground, right? And it doesn't matter what flight path we take, okay? All of the flight paths work even though the continents aren't necessarily really aligned properly. Australia is way too big, right? Again, they've stretched out Australia because it is assumed that the Earth is convex. And if you're going to lay it out on a flat surface, and you're going to wrap it around Antarctica like this, and you want to make the latitude match the latitude on Australia, you're going to have to stretch those lines out around the edge. But it doesn't matter what path we take. Let's take a path that's a little bit different. Let's expand that line a little bit. Let's go from here to the edge of the coast of Africa here. Okay, so let's look at the shape of this. And let's do the same thing over here. Let's see exactly where we are. So I'm pretty far north. I'm in Maine, right? So we're going to put our great circle in Maine. Bring it up a little bit. And then we're going to drag it. Oops. Sorry guys, I'm not used to using this. To the coast of Africa. Okay, let's see where the coast is here. So we're right at the edge of that southern point. See how this works? It's a reset. That's the way it works. So what is this shape when we're looking at it? If we're looking at the latitude lines, again, we're starting off kind of traveling in a northern direction, and then as we're traveling, we're veering south. Now, look at the shape of this. The reason this has this shape is because we're not traveling straight east and west, right? We're kind of traveling in a southern direction as we're traveling, and if we look at the map, again, from Maine, we're starting out kind of traveling in a northern direction. More of an eastern direction. This is a little off, like I said, because they stretch it around, but look at the shape. Okay, so what are we doing? We're bowing down towards Africa, and then look at the shape. Look at the latitude line here. We continue to drop below the latitude line, and we end up here. Okay, so the concept works for every place around the surface. It's not perfect because the latitude and longitude lines are not perfect. But you can see the concept of how if you're traveling in a straight line, the curvature of the line is based on the curvature of the lines that are associated with the ground that you're flying over and not the shape of the ground. It's very simple. And just so you can really see this curve before I end this video, look at the curve of the latitude lines. Look at the curve. Now imagine that arc, right? Imagine the arc from United States down, right? We're going south. And look at that arc away from those latitude lines that are curving in the opposite direction. That's how we determine the shape of this, is by looking at the shape of the latitude lines that are going the other way. So it definitely works on a flat surface, on a flat earth. If we had a perfect flat earth map, it would work perfectly. The problem is no one who makes maps have ever assumed that the earth is flat. If they did, and they assume that it reset in every direction like the earth that we're proposing, Australia is exactly the size that it is. You don't have to stretch it out, because the distance is exactly what it is. The distance from here to here and from here to here is exactly what it is. I don't need to triangulate it from the outside because there is no edge, right? The water is the reset. The water is the bounds. The circle is in the water. This is the biblical model, and it works perfectly for celestial navigation, for traveling in an airplane, and for everything else.